Hello everyone, so my name is Avalon and today we're going to be doing a level critique and a bit of a feedback on Access Denied by Lunarscrap. The level code ID will be both in the description and is on the screen now, so let's get into it. So this first room, firstly, this here, the auto scroll, the auto Mario, is brilliant. Tag into the level is just a fantastic idea. The rest of this first room is pretty interesting as well. I like that you have to drop down and hit this invisible block, and I like that it's well marked. And I like that the mushrooms can get stuck behind here. I actually think this first room is really strong. Really strong. In the second room, I like this soft lock. I like that it's not that you've got a way to die, but I feel like it was pretty obvious coming. Also, this infinite P switch is kind of average. I don't really know what this brick is. Oh, it's a vine. How weird. Never once saw it. The whole losing your power before you go through thing is good. It becomes an inconsistent point in the level. This third room is highly underrated in that the semi-solid platforms make it appear like there's platforms with a coin trail, which is really clever. I also like how the coin below this brick block here looks like a brick as well, so you can stand there by mistake, especially if you accidentally collect this coin. And the thwomp just adds that bit of pressure. I'm a big fan of thwomps falling over doors with one-ways blocking them. Big fan. The thwomp having the parachute creates an interesting timing mechanic, and I think it's good in this instance, but it does cause some problems for the rest of the level, which I'll get to soon. These semi-solids at the top, I know it's just for the layering of the level, but it looks like there's something up there, like a dev door or something. I don't know if there is. I couldn't find any hidden blocks when I was testing, but you never know. Now this room, very clever. I like the forced on-off, so you know which way the switch is facing. And I like that there's a power block in here and a power block in here, which messes up the spike ball in here. I think it's very clever, and it forces you to use the correct block, but also players may not be expecting there to be anything in these brick blocks. The Monty Mole setup here in the top right is clever, good way to trigger an on-off switch, but it does create a little bit of jank. The way that the spike ball falls down is clever. It rolling back is a bit predictable, but the auto scroll is not, and it does make you jump. The way it falls down initially straight kind of got me a few times. I don't know if that was just me being stupid or whether it was because I'm expecting it to roll to the right and just missing out, but it was really clever anyway. Yeah, this muncher was a bit awkward sometimes, so sometimes it would trigger at different times and like that pin me to the ceiling. Super. So this section, I like this one way, but I feel like there's something that could be more done here. It just becomes very obvious to double check this one up here, and you can just see the red behind it for the super mushroom. But this missing block here under the vine is very clever. I really like that. It messed me up once or twice when I went through the level into a force damage door, which is always fun. These question mark blocks are really clever because the player's been waiting at the start of every room, and now they have to rush. And this up-down section here, well, I'll go over the top just for demonstration purposes, but it makes you think like you've got enough time to make it before this piranha plant comes, but then obviously as that pipe isn't real anyway, it's a really good way to get the player to die once or twice here at their own fault. Having the question mark block here, I don't know if it was aimed for the lower route or the upper route, but it looks like it's a safe place to stand, and it isn't because the piranha plant goes straight through, which I like. This piranha plant that comes out of this pipe is fantastic and brilliant and amazing, and it got me and I love it. Now these donuts need to be talked about a lot because there's a lot of good stuff here. The way if you hold left the whole way down, when you become Little Mario, you fall in behind the second saw is just so brilliant. and it got me, and it really made me laugh. And this little spike here just gives you a little bit of a challenge. My only thing is it's very late in the level to be given a challenge like that, to then have to replay all of that again, but I'll get to that in a bit. Obviously you've got a knowledge checkpoint here, but when I first read it I thought it was like, K, here's a checkpoint, as if you were insulting the player's speed, and I quite enjoyed that, but finding it was a knowledge checkpoint I was not a fan of. So knowledge checkpoints are great, and you've done a really good knowledge checkpoint here. It's really clear what the knowledge is and how it works and what to do. You can tell exactly what part of the level it's on. It's a perfect replica. I'm sure it's a copy and paste with multi-select anyway, and it highlights what to do. However, the issue with that is that when a player is playing through the level, they often get to a situation where they would be jumping along the top of this anyway, because they see the coins and the bricks, which is what I did, and I found this bomb early. Now, I like that you have to be big barrier to go through it, because you've been trained to hit this spike over here, so suddenly not hitting the spike's quite a big deal. And I like the way that you have to wait, the way that the P-switch breaks if you're Little Mario, so you think you've done the right thing. And the game will let you continue all the way through versus this muncher. Now this bit, if you jump just right, you can actually reveal those power blocks there. You can see them on the left of the screen. So this troll was wasted on me because I knew exactly where it was already. It's a pretty typical troll setup, so it is what it is. This room's great. These shinies are tempting, and you look for them thinking there's a mushroom, which is just brilliant, because that's exactly what you should be doing with this sort of setup, where you've got the brick block here, and then you've got a repeat of the 1-up, which is very, very clever, and that muncher just slightly over to the left, so just clips you as you do it, which is a good way to kill a player that's not expecting it. This little mushroom cannon below me here is also quite clever, because you think you need to avoid the bomb explosion, so you might take a step to the left and you lose out. It's obvious there's not an off switch hidden behind the saw, but it's good that you thought of that during your level creation with the fish killing as it comes down. I like that, it's a good bit. Now this section is a point of contention for me. Now obviously I had to end up contacting you about this, but with that blue pipe above, it appears that you can beat this. Now, I have no idea if you can or can't, because I gave up. But the issue is in testing this, by trying to beat it, I had my switch set to blue over on this side, as I return through this pipe, which causes the issue, of course, that the bridge isn't there. And this made me think that I'd come the wrong way, as Mario drowned in lava, and it made me reconsider this whole level. But of course, once you know about it, it's not a major problem, it's just, it needs some sort of indication. There needs to be something. You've got all of this space around it with the bricks, and there's just no indication for it at all. This spike here is quality, and when I was doing my world record run, it got me more times than I care to admit. Now, this checkpoint, I initially thought it was a weird setup, and I didn't actually see the flag to the right there, whether that's because of the track or something else, I'm not sure, but it was a good idea. So let's just move on. Now this section here, obviously you see the bomb coming, and there's a lot going on screen, so you're kind of distracted for a moment, but you have this long period here where there's just nothing going on screen. And yeah, the bomb breaks you open the world, and then you have the power block obviously up here with the thwomp, so that when you're hitting that dies, and it releases the fireball, the lava bubble, which I can't see at the moment. There it is. Which is clever, because it stops you getting soft locked as a player, but it also punishes the player as well. These two fire flowers I didn't look at once. There's not enough incentive to go up there. Now this section, with this little snow boy, is just brilliant. I love the way it spawns this Muncher. I think it is fantastic. I think the setup's brilliant. There's so many cannons here, you're wondering what's going on, and it's just so good. Really good setup. This bit here is interesting. I'm not a fan of Kaizo blocks, but it definitely was a well-placed one, in that you obviously try and jump to the block that you can see behind the saw, thinking you've worked it out, to then get knocked into the spikes. And then to find each of those blocks are note blocks is just extra. It's good. I like it. I think you can improve this by having another Kaizo block along here to punish players for jumping. So if you replace the clouds with 3 invisible blocks, and then the player has to climb, you'll see in my world record run, I literally jump and jump to get to the top. This donut into this soft lock's very clever. I like it. I can't remember how it kills you down there, but it was clever. And it did get me because of the timing aspect of it. Now I actually looked behind the saw for something, because you never know, especially if you're on off block behind a previous saw. Now this, however, where you've got the racetrack to the right there, with the munchers that come over it, I was unsure. So I understand your setup is to create concern over what you're supposed to be looking at. Are you supposed to go over the top of this cannon and the Thwomp will activate the P-switch? Or are you supposed to hit the P-switch first? Which are you supposed to do? So I went for the hit the P-switch first option, and I got distracted by this racetrack. So when the yellow blocks come back, or the gold blocks come back, I actually got soft locked here. So you need something... Oh, there you go. You need something that will just kill the player here after that second P-switch. The timing setup for that's going to be very difficult, whether you do it on a distance-based timer once they reach the pipe, or whether you do some sort of P-switch setup. There needs to be something here anyway. So you could use a pipe, for example, with P-blocks in front of it that shoots out fireballs that just land here, because this is unacceptable for a player to have to start over this far into your level. Super. So then we're in this bit where there's waiting for a bomb, which is frustrating, but this auto-scroll section is really clever. I really like that. It put me under a lot of stress when I played it the first time. I don't understand why you have a P-switch blocking this pipe, but I'm sure there's a valid reason for it. Maybe it's to do with the section that comes next, the race section. Now, having the checkpoint before the race section is really good, and it's important because this is going to kill the player a lot. However, this checkpoint is killer. Waiting for this bomb is ridiculous, and I don't understand what its purpose is. I understand that you've got the auto-scroll lock with that block up the top there, but I do not understand why there's that wait there. What was the... I just don't understand it. But again, that's something that I'll get to. So yeah, this section, I think you have to be a little bit lucky to find the Link Sword, but again, you've hidden stuff in blocks all the way through, so I don't think it's too much of a problem. Now, my biggest issue with this section is these munchers. If I get underneath it, I didn't know if there was something more here, and I think that's because you ran out of space or similar, but these two sections are too close together. The muncher section caused me problems getting softlocked over there, and the thwomp section at the top caused me issues getting past the munchers down here. It was just time wasted that I didn't really... It wasn't fun to waste that time. Now, obviously through that door, there's a certain special something, and I love it. I think it's so brilliant. A really clever idea to CP1 a player. Yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about it, to be honest. I like also that the vines here, there's a break between the two vines, so you have to jump up to get the rest of the way up, which is really good. Big fan of that. Yeah, because it killed me once in my playthroughs where I forgot to jump when bouncing up and got killed in between the two vines just because I forgot to jump. Also, it's worth noting that the player thinks it's possible to climb all the way up with a jump, and that invisible block is just so perfectly placed. The checkpoint one itself is just really well done. I like getting sent back that way. It was quite satisfying, but it did cause another problem for the level, which again I will get to shortly. Now this room, again, I had to contact you to ask you how you do it. This is ridiculous. Using a glitch like this in a level is just... there's no indication, there's no clue as to what you should do here, and I've looked around, it's not the most known glitch. However, the setup is pretty cool. If you mess it up, this cannon is ridiculous. There should be no reason to punish the player for messing up a glitch. No reason at all, especially if you can't even go back through the pipe without dying. Blech. Once you know about the glitch, and you know that the cannon's going to come up so you need to be quick, it's kind of an easy section to do. This section's cool. It took me a second to work out I was in the same room, and the mushroom is obviously needed, but because of how easy it is to mess up this section, most people would have already worked out they need something, so they won't rush through the pipe, I don't think. Using the iframes here to get through the saws is ingenious, especially with that gap in the springs, in the vines, as I said. And that's the level. So, my final thoughts on the level are quite simple. Overall, I booed it, and there is very strong reason for that. But first, let's talk about what's so great about it, and that is that the trolls in there are fantastic. The opening section is really funny, actually. I really liked that it was supposed to be a Mario auto-scroll, and then it became, obviously, just a spring into the buzzsaw, which I thought was really, really clever. All the way through, actually, there's some really good trolls, including the CP1, which was just brilliant. However, the pacing in this level is tragic, and I'm probably going to play footage of all of the times you have to wait in the level over the top of this, because there is so much waiting for P-switches, for bombs, for just things to happen where there's no interaction with the player. And inherently a wait isn't a bad thing. And often can be a good thing if you're using it to catch the player off guard or make them think they're going to be killed in like an anti-troll or something. However, the way that the weights are set up around the checkpoints and such, even that second checkpoint block with the bomb to wait, that just seems unnecessary. I don't understand why it's there. It's just a long wait in a section just before a player is going to die a lot. So it kind of builds a lot of wait time. And I really felt that when I was doing my world record run, where normally I would perfect these levels and have the world record spot on. I got frustrated playing this level, and I didn't want to get my movements pixel perfect just because of those waits. That was really apparent all the way through, including the thwomp with the parachute that I mentioned earlier. That parachute causes the third drop to fall as the P-switch ends, which means that the player has to wait for a cycle of the thwomp after waiting for a P-switch cycle, which is just a very long wait for that section. The other issue I have with it is the lack of guidance in some areas. So the fact that I had to contact you twice during a level is concerning. Obviously, most players that play it are not going to have that option. The troll room has the option to go back to being blue or off. And the fact that I did that playing the level and then thought that I was doing something wrong. So I initially found that second route with the bomb hidden with the knowledge checkpoint. I went all the way through that, giving up on the first section of the level until I got back to that point where the conveyor belts are, and I couldn't work it out, so I then tried to go back through the other route and then found the knowledge checkpoint, which is frustrating as a player, but obviously it is what it is. So the other thing that wasn't well guided for the player is that final room with the little glitch. I believe that you said it was Nintendo code that was a bit squiffly, which is true, it's Nintendo code, but it's not a very well-known glitch. I know this game inside and out, and I was aware of it, and I didn't recognize the setup. It wasn't until you mentioned it that I thought, oh no, that's actually really obvious now. but it was the fact that I had to ask you for that. There needs to be some sort of guidance that you need to use the glitch. Apart from that, I thought it was quite a strong level. But those are the areas you need to focus on, is that player guidance and the timing and waiting. It really messes up the pacing of the level. It makes it really difficult to continue to play through. I wasn't surprised when I took the first clear at all, in that it's just a real slog to get through to the end. I'm glad to see now it's got, I think, 13 clears. But I imagine that a lot of those players had to come for you for help or got lucky with that softlock room or anti-softlock room. But yeah, so that, of course, was access denied by Lunarscrap. All in all, a good level if you know a couple of tricks. But definitely needs some work on it. So yeah, I look forward to seeing the next revision of the level, to be honest with you, Luna, if you do bring out one. And I really hope that you do. So thank you so much for that. So I have been Avalon. This has been Lunarscrap. And all that's left to do now is take the world record. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. See you next time.